You possess a machine engineered to traverse continents without ever needing to refuel. Its engine is designed to operate at peak performance for hours on end, commanding awe and trembling reverence from anyone who lays eyes on it. But instead of taking it out to the racetrack to discover its absolute limit, every single day you start it up merely to drive 300 meters to the local shop for a loaf of bread, and then you shut down the motor. This is not merely a metaphor. This is the brutal truth about how 99% of men utilize the most potent gift nature has bestowed upon them, their sexual energy. You have been conditioned to believe that the objective of every race is to reach the finish line as rapidly as possible, kill the engine, and walk away. You have been told that the loud backfire of the exhaust pipe at the end is the definition of victory. This is the greatest deception of masculinity, one that leaves you weak, predictable, and ultimately, hollow. We have been trained to view sex as a short-distance dash. A sprint where the grand prize is simply release. But what if I told you this is a lie? What if the finish line you are sprinting towards so desperately is not a victory, but a defeat? The French call it la petite mort, the little death. And they are absolutely right. Every time you mindlessly cross that line, you voluntarily surrender a piece of your life force, your charisma, and your power. You have felt it yourself. That profound emptiness after intimacy. The sharp, sudden drop in interest toward the woman who, just a moment ago, was the center of your universe. The overwhelming drowsiness and apathy. These are not signs of passion. These are symptoms of energy bankruptcy. Your body is literally screaming at you that you have squandered precious capital on a fleeting moment of pleasure. We are not here to teach you to endure. We won't advise you to think about baseball stats or do math problems in your head. That is the path of suppression, not control. That is the path of weakness. Instead, we will reveal a different path to you. A path known to ancient emperors and Taoist masters. A path where you will learn to separate pleasure from loss. You will learn how to transform sex from a sprint into a marathon. How to remain at the peak for hours, driving your woman to absolute frenzy again, and again, and again. How to derive pleasure not from the weakness of release, but from the intoxicating power of total control. And most importantly, where to channel this preserved, boiling energy to revolutionize your life far beyond the bedroom. This is the ultimate secret we will reveal at the very end. But I must warn you. The knowledge I am about to share today is forbidden not because it is explicit, but because it grants true power. The master key to this power will be revealed at the very end. So, before we begin, I ask you to like this video in advance. And if you are here for the first time and are ready to go all the way for real knowledge, subscribe right now to become part of the inner circle. And before we start, a quick question for clarity. Have you ever considered that an orgasm and finishing are essentially not the same thing? Type a plus in the comments if this thought has already crossed your mind, and a minus if this is a revelation for you. Your honesty is very important to me. Part 1, The Anatomy of the Explosion, Why Ejaculation Steals Your Power. To become the absolute master of your energy, you first need to comprehend the mechanism of its loss. We must become the architects of our own bodies, not merely passengers. And the first thing we have to do is draw a distinct line between two concepts that society has mistakenly fused into one: orgasm and ejaculation. Imagine a raging thunderstorm. An orgasm is the blinding flash of lightning that pierces the entire sky. It is a peak experience within your brain, an electrical discharge in the central nervous system. It is a sensation that can endure and ripple throughout the body. Ejaculation, on the other hand, is the heavy rain that follows the flash. It is a purely mechanical, reflex act of muscle contraction designed for a single biological purpose: reproduction. Nature cleverly tied them together to guarantee the survival of the species. Peak pleasure became the bribe for the release of seed. But what was necessary for biological evolution became heavy shackles for personal evolution. Man is the unique being on the planet who, thanks to his consciousness, is capable of intervening in this process. He can summon the lightning without the rain. He can experience peak states repeatedly without spilling a single drop. To understand this difference is to take the first step from being a slave to instinct to becoming a master of pleasure. As long as you believe that one is impossible without the other, you are doomed to live out the same short, repetitive script for the rest of your days. Let's look deeper into the chemical laboratory of your body to understand the nature of the crash after the finish. During arousal, your brain is bathing in a cocktail of powerful neurotransmitters. Dopamine, the molecule of motivation and anticipation, goes off the charts. You feel like a god, a hunter, a conqueror. But at the precise moment of ejaculation, the pituitary gland floods your blood with a massive amount of a hormone called prolactin. This is the hormone of satisfaction and sedation. It is responsible for the so-called refractory period, the time during which you physically cannot get aroused again. Prolactin literally extinguishes your desire on a chemical level. It suppresses dopamine production, and in a split second, you transform from a god into a passive, sleepy creature. This is the chemical off switch of your masculinity. Nature invented it so that after the act of reproduction, the male would calm down and not waste energy in vain. But in the modern world, this mechanism works against you, turning a peak of passion into a valley of apathy. This is exactly why a sense of psychological distance from your partner often arises immediately after sex. Your hormonal background has shifted drastically. The fire that connected you was artificially extinguished by a chemical reaction. You are no longer the hunter. You are a fed, sleepy lion. And this feeling is not your fault. It is simply biochemistry. Biochemistry that you can and must learn to command. But there is a level even deeper than chemistry. This is the level of pure energy. Thousands of years ago, Taoist sages identified a substance they called Jung. This is not just seminal fluid. It is the quintessence of your life force. Your initial capital, gifted to you at birth. It is your vitality, your immunity, your ability to regenerate, and most importantly, your mental power. Every uncontrolled ejaculation, from the Taoist perspective, is an irretrievable leak of Jung. You literally shoot away your life potential. Energy that could have been channeled into creating a business empire, into a grueling workout at the gym, into crystal mental clarity when making a difficult decision, simply dissipates into the void. Great Western minds, like Freud and Jung, called this by their own names, libido, psychic energy. They claimed that all human civilization, all art and science, is the product of sublimation. That is, the redirection of sexual energy into a creative or intellectual channel. So ask yourself a critical question: where do you direct your energy? Do you drain it, receiving a minute of oblivion and subsequent emptiness in return? Or are you ready to learn how to accumulate it, concentrate it, and turn it into real, tangible power over your reality? Because what happens to a man who has mastered this art, how his gaze changes, the timbre of his voice, his sheer presence in a room, that is the grand prize that most do not even suspect exists. But we will talk about that at the very end. Right now, we need to map the territory. Part 2, the map of sensations, how to find and hold the plateau zone. Any experienced navigator knows that before setting off for uncharted lands, one needs a detailed map. Without it, you are doomed to wander in the fog, relying on blind luck and risking a fall into the abyss. In our journey toward the mastery of control, such a map will be the scale of your own arousal. We will mark it from 1 to 10, where 10 is the point of no return and the finish. Your task as an explorer is to learn not just to determine your location on this map, but to consciously navigate across it, and most importantly, to reside in its most resourceful sector for a long time. Stages 1 through 5 can be termed the warm-up zone. This is a comfortable, pleasant state. Blood begins to flow to the right places, the body relaxes, thoughts settle down. There is no pressure here, no fear. It is pure anticipation. Most men traverse this stage without issues, enjoying the process. At this stage, your body is operating in the background, you are completely in control of the situation, and any danger is still very far on the horizon. Mistakes practically do not happen here. This is the calm harbor from which we embark on our voyage. And now we approach the most intriguing part. Levels 6 through 8. Commit this name to memory, the plateau zone. This is the promised land, the workshop where all the magic transpires. At level 6, you begin to feel arousal becoming tangible, almost material. It is no longer background noise, it steps to the forefront. At level 7, this feeling intensifies, turning into a constant, steady hum of energy vibrating in the body. You feel fullness, power. At level 8, you are at the peak of controlled pleasure. The sensations are incredibly vivid, but the brain is still clear, and the body is obedient. This is the ideal balance between passion and consciousness. In this zone, one can and must stay for hours. This is the art of surfing the wave that masters speak of. You do not fight the wave and do not let it swallow you, you glide along its crest, receiving pure pleasure from the process and maintaining total control. But this is exactly where most men make a fatal error. They are terrified of this zone. Instead of exploring it, they panic and accelerate through it at full speed. Why? Because of two great fears. The first is the fear of losing the erection. It seems to a man that if he does not constantly increase the tempo, the engine will stall. It seems to him that the plateau is a sign of weakness, and he needs to sprint to the finish line as soon as possible while he still can. The second fear is the fear of not making it. He feels the rising power and is afraid he won't be able to contain it, so he decides to finish on his own terms. Both of these fears stem from not knowing one's body and a lack of faith in it. As a result, instead of becoming a surfer, a man turns into a drowning person desperately paddling toward what he thinks is the saving shore of the finish, not realizing that the entire treasure is right here, in the open ocean. Level 9. The point of inevitability. This is the edge of the cliff. This is the moment when the body usurps control. The pelvic floor muscles begin to contract involuntarily, preparing for release. You feel that the process has engaged, and there is no turning back. Even if you stop now, the mechanism has already triggered. This takes literally 1 or 2 seconds, but these are the most critical seconds. Learning to recognize the very first, subtlest signal of approaching a 9 is a key skill that we will hone. If you find yourself at a 9, it means you missed all the warning signs at level 8. You got carried away, lost vigilance, and tumbled off the crest of the wave. And finally, level 10. The finish. Explosion, discharge, that very little death. The wave has crashed, dragging you down to the bottom with it. A sharp drop in arousal occurs, a hormonal recoil, and emptiness. Game over. For most men, this is the goal, the climax. But for a master, this is a failure. It means he lost control, let the energy slip away, and lost to his instinct. Our goal is to reprogram your brain. To make it so you perceive a 10 not as a victory, but as an annoying error. And to consider true triumph to be a long, confident, and pleasure-filled residence in the plateau zone, on levels 7 and 8. This is a total paradigm shift that begins with the simple ability to orient yourself on this map. So, your first practical task. Next time, during intimacy, forget about the goal. Become an explorer. Try to mentally note which level you are on. Do not try to control anything yet, just observe. Where is your 6? How does a 7 feel? At what moment does the slight panic appear that drives you toward a 9? Become a cartographer of your sensations. This is the first and most vital step to transforming from an unconscious passenger into the captain of your ship. Part 3, 3 Keys of the Taoist Master, Practical Tools of Control. When the map is drafted, we need tools for navigation. It is not enough to simply know where the plateau zone is located. You need to know how to enter it, dwell there, and most importantly, retreat in time from the dangerous line of level 9. The Taoist tradition has honed 3 fundamental keys over thousands of years, 3 pillars on which the entire art of energy management rests. These are not magic tricks or illusions. This is deep work with the body, breath, and consciousness. Mastering them gives you the remote control to your own physiology. The first key. Dragon's breath, or cooling the fire. Your nervous system operates in two modes. The sympathetic mode is fight, flight, or breed. It is responsible for arousal, tension, accelerated heartbeat. This is the gas pedal. The parasympathetic mode is rest and digest. It is responsible for relaxation, peace, slowing down. This is the brake pedal. The problem is that during sex, a man completely surrenders to the sympathetic system. He presses the gas to the floor until he smashes into the wall. Dragon's breath is a way to consciously press the brake without killing the engine. How does it work? When you feel you are creeping up to an 8 and risk slipping into a 9, you execute the following. A deep but slow inhale with your belly, counting to 4. You fill your lungs to absolute capacity. Then, hold your breath for a count of 4. This is the most crucial moment. During this time, you mentally visualize the hot energy accumulated in the lower abdomen beginning to rise up the spine, like mercury in a thermometer. And finally, a very slow, smooth exhale through the nose or slightly parted lips, for a count of 8. The exhale should be twice as long as the inhale. This activates your vagus nerve, the main switch of the parasympathetic system. Literally after 2 or 3 such cycles, you will feel the frantic race in the groin replaced by a calm, warm wave washing through the body. You will not lose your erection, but you will lower the arousal level from an 8.5 to a safe 7. This is your personal fire extinguisher that is always with you. The second key. Tiger's squeeze, or the physical lock. This is work with a specific muscle that many men do not even suspect exists. We are talking about the pubococcygeus muscle, or the PC muscle. This is a hammock of muscles that supports your pelvic organs. And most importantly, like a sphincter, it constricts the channels through which seminal fluid moves. The ability to command this muscle gives you physical control over the process. This is your emergency brake. To find this muscle, next time during urination, try to stop the flow completely without moving your legs or stomach. The muscle you tightened is the PC muscle. You can train it anytime, anywhere. Sitting in traffic, at a meeting, watching TV. Just squeeze it for a few seconds and release. Do 20 to 30 repetitions several times a day. You need to achieve a state where this squeeze becomes as natural as clenching a fist. During intimacy, when you feel that breathing isn't enough and you are standing on the very precipice of a 9, you perform a powerful, confident squeeze of this muscle. This physically blocks the reflex, giving you precious seconds to calm down, apply breathing, and roll back to a safe level. But be careful. Tiger's squeeze is a powerful but blunt instrument. If used too often or too strongly, you can oversqueeze and kill all arousal. It is not cruise control, it is precisely an emergency brake. The third key. Shifting focus, or mental switching. This is the subtlest and most powerful of the 3 keys. If breathing controls the nervous system, and the muscle controls physiology, then focus controls your energy. Where your attention goes, your energy flows. The reason a man finishes quickly is that his entire consciousness narrows to a single microscopic point, to the sensations in his own organ. He becomes selfish in pleasure. He thinks only of himself, of his release. And this concentrated focus fans the fire into an uncontrollable blaze. The art of shifting focus lies in consciously using willpower, at the peak moment on level 8, to transfer 100% of your attention from yourself to your partner. Stop taking, start observing. Stop thinking, start feeling. What exactly? Everything. Feel her chest rise and fall in time with her breathing. Try to synchronize your breathing with hers. Find a small mole on her shoulder with your eyes and study it as if it were an entire universe. Listen to the quiet sounds she makes. Smell her hair, her skin. Feel the texture of her back with your fingertips. Dissolve in her. The moment you completely switch focus from receiving to perceiving, a miracle happens. Your own arousal ceases to be sharp and unbearable, it becomes deep, warm, and all-encompassing. You get out of your head and connect with her on a completely different level. This turns a mechanical act into a meditation, a dance of two energies. And it is this key that opens the door to the world we will talk about next. It is for such depth and practical tools that men come to this channel. We do not talk about superficial things. We talk about what really changes lives. If this is the approach you have been looking for, now is the perfect moment to subscribe and continue this journey. Part 4, The Art of Valley Orgasm, Whole Body Pleasure. We have approached the most secret part of our practice. To what serves as an alternative to the usual explosion. If a standard male orgasm can be compared to a volcanic eruption, a peak, explosive, but short and devastating event, then there is another type of experience. Taoists call it the valley orgasm. It is not a sharp peak, but a wide, blooming valley. It is not an explosion, but a constant, warm glow. It is an orgasm not concentrated in one point of the body, but spilled throughout the entire organism, and most importantly, it does not require ejaculation. The essence of this phenomenon is in the redistribution of energy. Imagine your body is a house with an electrical network. In normal mode, all power is directed to a single light bulb in the groin. It flashes so brightly that it burns out and blacks out the whole house. The art of valley orgasm is the skill of being an electrician who redirects this energy throughout the network. So that light bulbs light up in the chest, in the hands, in the head. So that the whole house fills with an even, warm light that can burn for hours without ever burning out. How to achieve this in practice? Through an advanced stop-start technique. The classic version of this technique, taught by sexologists, consists of simply stopping stimulation before the point of no return. This works, but it is only half the battle. It is like simply taking your foot off the gas pedal. We will add steering to this. So, here is the algorithm. You begin intimacy and, using the map of sensations, bring yourself to a confident 8. You are on the crest of the wave, sensations are maximal. At this moment, you say stop. You or your partner completely cease stimulation. And here the magic begins. Instead of just waiting for arousal to subside, you close your eyes and apply dragon's breath. Taking a slow inhale, you visualize all the hot, concentrated energy from the groin beginning to rise up the spine. You literally inhale it into yourself. On the breath hold, you mentally hold it in the area of the chest or head. And on a slow exhale, you pour it throughout the body, into the shoulders, into the arms, to the very fingertips. You can physically feel the tension in the groin subside, and a wave of warm tingles runs through the body. This is a micro-orgasm of the whole body without the loss of seed. You repeat this breathe-visualize cycle 2 or 3 times until you feel the arousal level has dropped to a 6 or 7. You are back in the safe zone. Then you give the signal start and resume movement. And here is what is amazing. With each such cycle, 3 things happen. First, your sensitivity does not fall, but on the contrary, it grows. The body becomes more receptive to subtle sensations. Second, your erection does not weaken, but becomes only harder and more confident because the blood doesn't go anywhere. And third, most importantly, your mental control becomes absolute. You no longer fear the wave, you have learned to ride it. Imagine a blacksmith forging a sword. He heats the metal to red hot, brings himself to an 8, then takes it out of the fire, strikes several precise blows with the hammer, redistributes energy, and then plunges it back into the fire. With each such cycle, the metal becomes stronger, more perfect. You become such a blacksmith for your body and your energy. At first, there may be 2 or 3 such stop-start cycles in one act. Then 5 or 6. Masters are capable of doing dozens of such cycles, turning intimacy into a multi-hour meditation where they constantly experience these wave-like orgasms spilled throughout the body, without losing a single drop of their life force. This is true sexual mastery. It lies not in exploding once as brightly as possible, but in learning to maintain the sacred fire as long as you wish, warming and illuminating everything around with it. This is a transition from quantity to quality, from gross physiology to subtle energetics. And when you master this art, you will understand the influence it has on your woman. And this influence will shock you. Part 5, Through Her Eyes, Why This Practice Turns You into a Ruler. Until now we have spoken about you, your body, your energy, and your control. But the greatest mystery of this practice is revealed the moment you look up and see what is happening to her. To understand the scale of this transformation, one needs to realize one fundamental biological difference. The male arousal system is like a light switch. Click, and the light is on. The female system is a rheostat, a dimmer switch. The knob needs to be turned slowly, smoothly, for the light to brighten gradually. From a purely physiological point of view, a woman needs on average 20 to 40 minutes of active stimulation for blood to fill all erogenous zones, for her body to fully wake up and prepare for an orgasm. The sprinter man, who finishes in 5 to 10 minutes, simply does not give her body a single chance. He turns off the lights in the room long before her bulb has time to even glow. He leaves the party when she has only just started dancing. Millions of women around the world fake pleasure for this very reason. Not because the man is bad, but because he is simply too fast. He plays by his own rules, not realizing he is playing a completely different game. Now imagine what happens when a man who has mastered his body comes into her life. A man for whom 20, 40, 60 minutes is not a problem, but standard practice. He does not endure, he does not suffer, he enjoys the process. He is on his plateau, at level 8, and by his presence, his rhythm, his control, he creates ideal conditions for her. He keeps her at the peak of arousal for as long as necessary. And then her body begins to open up as nature intended. She begins to experience not one orgasm, but a series. One after another. This is called being multi-orgasmic. Her body, being in a state of constant high arousal that you maintain, turns into a perfectly tuned musical instrument capable of playing an entire symphony. You give her what she may have never experienced and didn't even know was possible. You open the door to a completely new world of sensations for her. And the man who gives her this world becomes for her not just a lover. He becomes a guide. But there is something stronger than physiology. It is psychology. The psychology of power and control. Deep down, at the level of the most ancient, animal instincts, a woman is drawn to strength. But not to the crude, external strength of muscles or money. But to inner strength. To the power of self-possession. A man who cannot control his primary instinct, who is a slave to his desire, is subconsciously perceived as weak. His passion is not a sign of power, it is a sign of a lack of control. He is like an unbroken stallion that rushes without steering and quickly runs out of steam. A man who has mastered the art of non-completion demonstrates something completely different. He shows that he is the master of his inner beast. He can be passionate, wild, unstoppable, but at any moment, he can stop. He controls the storm. This ability evokes not just pleasure in a woman. It evokes animal respect. She feels that next to her is not just a male, but a leader. He is not a slave to his body, he is its ruler. He has proven that his will is stronger than his instinct. And this understanding, which happens on a non-verbal, subconscious level, forces her to trust him completely. She can relax and surrender to the flow because she knows he controls its direction. This creates a level of intimacy and submission unattainable in ordinary relationships. She submits not to him, but to his willpower. And this is the most powerful aphrodisiac one can imagine. Therefore, the main gift you give her is not long sex. It is the demonstration of your inner strength. You show her that you are a man capable of managing the most powerful energy in nature. And this changes everything. But the most interesting thing is that her admiration is just a side effect. The main prize from this practice awaits you outside the bedroom. And it will change your entire life. Part 6, Life After the Finish, the main secret of sublimated energy. We have reached the finale. To that very secret I have been hinting at throughout our conversation. Let's say you have mastered the techniques. You learn to stay in the plateau zone for hours. You give your woman incredible experiences. But the main question remains, what happens next? Where does all that colossal energy go that you used to mindlessly drain? Nature abhors a vacuum. Energy cannot simply disappear. It must transform. And what it turns into is the main secret and the greatest reward of Taoist practices. The great psychoanalyst Sigmund Freud called this process sublimation. He believed that the entire driving force of human civilization, from great works of art to scientific discoveries, is nothing other than redirected sexual energy, libido. When the primal instinct does not find a direct outlet, its power is directed upward, into the higher psychic centers, fueling creativity, intellect, and will. Taoists spoke of this thousands of years ago, just in other words. They taught how to turn Jing energy into Qi energy life force, and then into Shen spiritual energy. In simple terms, you stop spending your starting capital and begin investing it in yourself. And the dividends from these investments appear in all spheres of your life. The first thing men who practice retention notice is a change in the mental sphere. The fog clears from the head. Thinking becomes sharp, clear, crystal. A capacity for deep concentration appears. Complex tasks that used to cause procrastination begin to be solved easily and elegantly. Your brain, which used to be constantly distracted looking for a dopamine handout from a quick release, now receives constant, steady nourishment from within. You become more creative, more ambitious, more decisive. Energy that previously sought an outlet below now seeks it above, in the form of new ideas, bold projects, and strategic decisions. The second is physical transformation. Preserved energy goes to strengthening and restoring the body. Endurance increases. Gym workouts become more productive. Recovery after loads happens faster. Your hormonal background stabilizes at a high level. Instead of sharp spikes and drops in testosterone associated with the arousal ejaculation recoil cycle, you maintain a constantly high level of male hormones. This makes you not just physically stronger, but psychologically more stable. You become calmer in stressful situations. Your aura fills with confidence and solidity. And third, the most elusive and most powerful. Your presence changes. Your gaze. People around you, especially women, begin to feel it. There is a concept, predator eyes. This is not an aggressive look, no. It is a calm, heavy, magnetic gaze of a man filled with power to the brim. He seeks nothing, asks for nothing. He is self-sufficient. His energy does not leak out, it circulates inside, creating a powerful field that is felt at a distance. Women instinctively are drawn to such a field. They feel this inner fullness, this hidden power. You become a mystery to them. In a world of fussy, hollow men who are constantly looking for validation of their significance from the outside, you become a rock. A man who has found the source of power within himself. Here it is, the grand prize. This is not just improved sex. It is a total reboot of the man. Transformation from an energy consumer into its generator. The practice in the bedroom becomes your secret gym, your dojo, where you forge not only pleasure but your will, your character, your destiny. And when you walk out of this gym into the big world, you walk out a different person. Filled, calm, and incredibly strong. And this is what people will call charisma, without understanding its true source. Conclusion: the new paradigm of a man. We have come a long way. From exposing the great male deception to understanding the highest secrets of energy transformation. And now you stand on the threshold of a choice. You can close this video and return to your old life, to short sprints and the inevitable emptiness after them. To the little death that will take away a piece of your life force time after time. This is the familiar and understandable path. The path of the majority. Or you can accept a new paradigm. A paradigm in which sex is not a race for release, but a practice of power. Not a way to spend energy, but a way to accumulate and multiply it. This is a path where you become the master of your body, the ruler of your instincts, and the blacksmith of your reality. This is a path from weakness to strength, from dependence to freedom, from emptiness to total fullness. I do not ask you to take my word for it. I ask you to conduct one experiment. Just once. In your next intimacy, set yourself the goal of not reaching the finish line. Use the 3 keys you learned today. Breathe. Control the muscle. Shift focus. Play this game. Allow yourself to stay on the plateau as long as you can. Observe yourself, her, and your sensations the next day. Feel that very clarity of mind and calm strength I spoke about. Just try it. Refuse one little death for the sake of one day of big life. And I promise you, neither you nor your woman will ever forget it. And now the main question to you. I have shared knowledge. But theory without practice is dead. I am not asking you to share intimate details. Write in the comments which of the 3 keys of control seemed the most difficult to you, and which the most implementable right now. Breathing, the muscle, or focus. Let's gather collective wisdom and see where most men start on this path. Your answers will help not only me, but thousands of other viewers who read the comments.